All right, so we're going to look at Attis and his virgin birth. Now, I did a video on Horus. I did a nice long video on Horus, and the software that I'm using is for some reason taking a long time to export it or convert it or whatever the heck it does. So I'm just going to go ahead and release this one, and when that one's done, I'll upload that one. Now, when it comes to Attis, I could not find any original writings about Attis. Like, for example, for Horus, he was written on the hieroglyph. He was written about on the hieroglyphic plates. So in the video, I go to a book of a guy who translates the plates, right? A guy who translates the plates, he shows the plates or whatever, and he gives an explanation of what's on the plates, and then he quotes what's on the plates word for word. And that's how the Horus video goes. Attis is different. I cannot find anything like that. The closest thing I could find for Attis is a poem written by him by an ancient poet. All right. Now, what I was able to find was I was forced to go to the encyclopedias, and I wanted to really look for like original documents or whatever. Not that I can read Greek, but I just like that idea. But I'm going to go to the encyclopedias and we'll look at what they say, and then we're going to look at that poem. Attis's virgin birth is the most interesting out of this group by far, in my opinion. All right, so we're going to start off first with Wikipedia, and we're going to look at what Wikipedia says about Attis, and then we're going to look at a couple more. All right, so Attis, right here, starting reading right here. Attis was the consort of Cybele in Phrygian and Greek mythology. His priests were eunuchs, the Galli, and as explained by Origin myths pertaining to Attis and castration. Attis was also a Phrygian god of vegetation, and in his self-mutilation, death, and resurrection, he represents the fruits of the earth which die in the winter only to rise again in the spring. An Attis cult began around 1250 BCE in Dindymon. He was originally a local semi-deity of Phrygia, associated with the great Phrygian trading city of Pesinos, which lay under the of Mount Adistis. Now that is significant. Well, it'll tell you why right here. The mountain was personified as a daemon, whose foreigners associated with the great mother Cybele. In the late 4th century BC, a cult of Attis became a feature of the Greek world. The story of his origins at Adistis, recorded by the traveler Pausanias, have some distinctly non-Greek elements. Pausanias was told that the daemon Adistis initially bore both male and female attributes, but the Olympian gods, fearing I hate these names, Adistis, cut off the male organ and cast it away. There grew up from it an almond tree, and when its tree was ripe, Nana, who was the daughter of the river god Sangrius, picked up an almond and laid it in her bosom. The almond disappeared and she became pregnant. Nana abandoned the baby, Attis. The infant was tended by a he-goat. As Attis grew, his long-haired beauty was godlike, and Adistis, as Cybele, then fell in love with him. But the foster parents of Attis sent him to Pesinos, where he was wed to the king's daughter. According to some versions, the king of Pesinos was Midas. Just as the marriage song was being sung, Adistis/Cybele appeared in her transcendent power, and Attis went mad and cut off his genitals. All right, I'm gonna stop there. All right, I'm going to give you a recap. Basically, all right. So I'm starting over here again. A cult arise, a cult of Attis worshippers, and basically the story is in very, very generic, brief summary terms. A demon who was a hermaphrodite, Agdistis, this hermaphrodite demon, the Olympian gods feared Agdistis, and they tricked him. Now I read another story. This one, it says it cut off the male organ. The other one said it tied his foot to his male organ, and basically this hermaphrodite demon castrated himself. The blood from his castration dripped onto the ground. An almond tree grew up from the ground. The daughter of the river god named Nanan, she picked up an almond from the almond tree, put it in her bosom, and Attis was born. That's the virgin birth of Attis. So, all right, this is just Wikipedia. We're going to look at some more stuff. All right, this is Encyclopedia.com. We're going to look at what it says about Attis. All right, Attis in Phrygian religion was a vegetation god. When Nana ate the fruit of the almond tree, which had been generated by the blood of either Agdistis or of Cybele. Oops, what did I just do? Sorry. Oh, ads. I hate ads. Y'all gonna have to bear with me with this. I'm doing all this on my phone, and I'm not going to spend all day editing. So just bear with me. All right, let's start over. When Nana ate the fruit of the almond tree, which had been generated by the blood of either Agdistis or of Cybele, she conceived Attis. Now, Agdistis and Cybele is the same person. It is the hermaphrodite daemon, and apparently after the castration, this being became known as Cybele. Either that, or it went back and forth between a he and a she. Right. So Nana, this one's saying the same thing. Attis's mother, Nana, was a river god. Was the daughter of a river god. She picked up an almond from a tree that grew from the hermaphrodite blood, put the almond in her bosom or in her womb or whatever, and then Attis was born. Later, Agdistis or Cybele fell in love with Attis, and so that no one else would have him, she caused him to castrate himself. He's a god of vegetation, and another thing that I looked at, it said that he does have a tie to trees. So as a god of vegetation, there was a correlation between him and pine trees. All right. So those are two encyclopedias. We'll look at one more. It's going to probably say the same thing. All right. So this is Britannica.com, and I'm going to start here because you can go and look at it for yourself. It's really nothing. You're not missing anything. According to the Phrygian tale, Attis was a beautiful youth born of Nana, the daughter of the river Sangarius, and the hermaphroditic Agdistis. Having become enamored by Attis, Agdistis struck him with frenzy as he was about to be married, and with the result that Attis castrated himself and died. So 3 different encyclopedias all say the same thing. A hermaphrodite demon castrated itself. The blood came and fertilized the land somewhere. An almond tree grew out of that fertilized land. This woman grabbed the daughter of a sun god, grabbed this almond, put it in her bosom, and then gave birth to Attis. So that is the virgin birth of Attis that Jesus is a copy of, or that, it's very similar to Jesus, and therefore the story of Jesus' birth is not special. All right. I even Googled some images, trying to see if I would see some images, or I don't know. I don't want to say plates, but some kind of literature. It's something, or maybe some kind of depiction showing his birth. And I just saw just pictures of busts of him. That's all I could find. So, and I even clicked on a couple, and it wasn't really getting me to where I wanted to be in terms of having some kind of evidence. You will find memes like this one, obviously. So that is the story of Attis, very short and sweet and simple. Attis was born when a hermaphrodite demon chopped off his penis. The blood the blood fertilized the ground and made an almond tree grow up. Attis's mom grabbed an almond from the almond tree, put it in her bosom, and Attis was born.